You noticed it before you had words for it. One day the vibe was warm. Messages came in fast. Plans felt easy. Their eyes stayed on you a little longer. Then you shifted. Not outwardly dramatic, not as a performance. You simply saw more clearly. And almost on cue they pulled back. Short replies. Delayed energy. A chill that felt like a switch flipped. If you've been sitting with that question, wondering what you did wrong, I want to offer a different frame. Sometimes people do not turn cold because you became less lovable. Sometimes they turn distant because you became less easy to read, less easy to steer, less willing to abandon yourself to keep the connection smooth. Here's the loop we're going to close together. When your awareness grows, the relationship stops running on autopilot. And anyone who benefited from autopilot tends to feel that shift in their body before they can explain it with their mouth. That does not mean they are a villain. It does not mean you are a saint. It means something changed in the invisible contract between you. In the beginning, many relationships run on implied agreements. You will laugh at my jokes even when they sting. I will keep my anxiety quiet so we can stay close. You will read my mood and adjust. I will avoid hard questions so we can keep the peace. Few people sit down and sign this on paper, yet the body can treat it like law. And then you wake up a little. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing clarity from someone who speaks in fog. You start noticing timing, patterns, what happens after you set a simple boundary. You begin to trust what you feel, not just what you are told. That kind of awareness is not loud, but it is disruptive. Not every discomfort is manipulation. Sometimes it's difference, noise, timing, or lack of skill. Awareness is clarity, not paranoia. Two people can care and still miss each other emotionally. Two people can want closeness and still lack the language to create it. The goal is not to hunt for monsters. The goal is to see the mechanics, because awareness changes the game in a few quiet ways. Your attention stops being free. When you are less aware, your attention leaks. You hand it out to earn affection. You scan their tone like a weather report. You spend your best energy managing the connection. In that setup, the other person receives a steady stream of focus, reassurance, and emotional labor without having to ask for it. When you become more aware, your attention becomes deliberate. You notice where it goes. You ask, is this being reciprocated? You pause before you rescue the mood. You let a silence exist without filling it. You stop turning yourself into a therapist, a translator, a cheerleader, and a detective at the same time. To someone who got used to your attention as a constant, that can feel like withdrawal. They may call it you changing, you being distant, you being cold. What they often mean is, you are no longer giving unlimited access to your inner world on demand. And notice something subtle here. Awareness does not make you less loving. It changes the kind of love you offer. Instead of love as constant availability, it becomes love with choice. Instead of love as surveillance, it becomes love with trust. Instead of love as overfunctioning, it becomes love that leaves room for the other person to show up. That room can feel beautiful to a mature person. It can feel terrifying to someone who is used to being carried. Your standards become visible. There is a version of you that tolerates things you do not even like, simply because you want the story to work. You normalize crumbs. You frame inconsistency as busy. You interpret avoidance as independent. You stay in the fantasy of potential because reality feels too sharp. Awareness sharpens reality. You start hearing the difference between I want you and I want the benefits of you. You start noticing that apologies without changed behavior are often a way to reset the clock. You start seeing that chemistry is not the same as safety. You start noticing who gets more patient and who gets more irritated when you ask for basic respect. Some people rise to that. They feel challenged in a good way, like a mirror they did not know they needed. Other people feel exposed. Because standards do not attack, they reveal. They reveal effort. They reveal character. They reveal capacity. And here is a hard-to-say truth. When standards become visible, the relationship stops being about potential and becomes about practice. Practice is inconvenient. Practice requires follow-through. Practice removes the ability to hide behind words. You stop volunteering your self-abandonment. Many connections stay stable only because one person keeps paying the hidden cost. They swallow their questions. They shrink their needs. They keep forgiving the same wound because they would rather have closeness than clarity. Awareness makes that deal feel expensive. You start saying, "I'm not okay with that." You start naming your experience without pleading for permission to have it. You start choosing peace over the thrill of unpredictability. You stop doing the emotional math that says, "If I ask for this, they might leave, so I won't." That is when the coldness often appears, because the relationship can no longer feed on your silence. Now let's talk about what cold can actually mean, because it shows up in several forms, and each form points to a different truth. Sometimes cold is confusion. They liked you when you were easy to predict, when you responded fast, when you smoothed over tension, when you stayed emotionally available even if they were inconsistent. Your awareness changes the rhythm, and they do not know how to adapt. You reply later because you are living your life, not waiting by the phone. You ask a direct question instead of hinting. You do not laugh at something that crosses your line. You do not accept a vague promise as a plan. A person with decent intentions might feel awkward here. They may pull back to recalibrate, not to punish. They may need time to learn a new way to connect. In that case, the solution is not a dramatic confrontation. It is a calm observation, a conversation, and a boundary that stays steady. Sometimes cold is shame. Awareness has a strange side effect. It makes people see themselves through your eyes. When you stop playing along, they realize what they have been doing. They might realize they have been lazy. They might realize they have been taking more than they give. They might realize they have been using charm to avoid responsibility. Shame does not necessarily look like remorse. Many times it looks like irritation. It looks like defensiveness. It looks like flipping the script so they do not have to face themselves. So they say you are too sensitive. They say you are overthinking. They say you are making a big deal out of nothing. They pretend your clarity is the problem because your clarity makes their behavior harder to justify. Sometimes cold is control. This is where awareness really changes the field. If someone is used to steering the relationship by keeping you slightly off balance, your clarity becomes a threat. When the fog stops working, they lose leverage. In cases where there is emotional manipulation, you might notice a pattern like this: warmth when you comply, distance when you question, affection as a reward, silence as a punishment, a sudden chill that arrives right after you express a need. That does not prove intent, and it does not diagnose a person. Yet it does show a dynamic. The connection is being used as a tool to shape your behavior. If that dynamic is real, your awareness is not the reason the relationship is struggling. Your awareness is the reason the relationship is being revealed. Sometimes cold is avoidance. Some people want intimacy in theory, but in practice closeness activates fear. When you become more aware, you stop keeping the relationship superficial. You ask for depth. You ask for clarity. You ask for consistency. That can feel like pressure to a person who survives by staying undefined. So they go cold, not because you did something wrong, but because the relationship started asking them to be emotionally present, and they do not have that skill yet. Sometimes cold is grief. Yes, grief. Because your awareness may end a chapter they enjoyed, the chapter where you were smaller, softer, more easily convinced to stay. They might miss the old version of you because the old version of you made their life easier. Someone can like you and still prefer you less awake. Now, before we go further, you need a simple anchor. If your awareness makes someone uncomfortable, it is not automatically a sign you should leave. It is a signal to watch what happens next. Watch whether the discomfort turns into growth or whether it turns into punishment. Growth can look like this. They ask questions. They listen. They make adjustments. They become curious about your experience. They show consistency over time, not just intensity for a day. Punishment can look like this. They withdraw affection to force you back into your old role. They mock your clarity. They create confusion. They keep the relationship in a state where you are guessing, chasing, and apologizing for having needs. This distinction matters because the same surface behavior can come from different roots. A quiet person can be processing, or they can be shutting you out. A delayed reply can be normal, or it can be strategic. You learn by watching patterns, not a single moment. Let's talk about the moment your awareness first shows itself, because it often happens in a small scene. You say something like, "When you cancel last minute, it affects me." Or, "I'm not comfortable with flirting with other people in front of me." Or, "I need to know what we are building." You do not scream. You do not beg. You simply state a reality, and the temperature drops. Why? Because you just did the one thing that breaks unconscious dynamics. You named the cost. As long as the cost is invisible, the pattern can continue without accountability. The moment you name the cost, the pattern has to either evolve or defend itself. This is why awareness can feel like a threat. Not because it is aggressive, because it is honest. Now, here is where many people sabotage themselves. They sense the coldness and rush to fix it. They over-explain. They apologize for their boundary. They try to prove they are easy again. That urge makes sense. Your attachment system wants safety. It wants reconnection. It wants the warmth back. But if you collapse at the first sign of discomfort, you teach the relationship a rule. When you go cold, I will shrink. Awareness invites you to choose a different rule. When you go cold, I will stay steady. Steady does not mean hard. It means anchored. And this is the part that can feel like a spiritual practice, not just a relationship tip. When you stay anchored, you stop treating the other person's mood as a verdict on your worth. You stop trying to earn basic decency. You stop negotiating for respect as if it is a luxury item. You start to live from this internal sentence. My clarity is not a threat. It is a boundary around my life. Now, let's make it practical. How do you tell if your awareness is simply creating a transition or if it is exposing a deeper mismatch? One sign is repair. After tension, do they come back with honesty or with theatrics? Honesty sounds like, "I got defensive. I'm sorry. I want to understand." Theatrics sound like, "You're too much," or "I can't deal with this," without any ownership or curiosity. Repair is not perfection. Repair is the willingness to face the discomfort without making you the enemy. Another sign is reciprocity. When you stop doing all the emotional work, does the relationship become empty, or does the other person start showing up? If the connection only survives when you carry it, awareness will feel like starvation to it. If the connection has mutual energy, awareness can feel like a healthier rhythm. Another sign is respect for your reality. Do they respect what you say you feel, even if they see things differently? Or do they try to argue you out of your experience? In cases where there is gaslighting, the pattern is not just disagreement. It is the repeated attempt to make you doubt your own perception, to make you feel unstable, to make you depend on their version of reality. A healthy person can disagree with your interpretation while still honoring your feelings. A harmful dynamic tends to treat your feelings as a problem to be erased. Notice the difference. Now, let's talk about why your awareness tends to arrive right when you fear losing someone. Because awareness often comes after a season of exhaustion. It comes after you tried hard, waited long, and explained yourself a little too many times. It comes after your body got tired of pretending. It comes when your system says, "I need stability." This is why you might feel guilty when you become more aware. You might think you are being cold. You might think you are becoming difficult. Often you are simply becoming honest, and honesty changes the kind of love you can accept. When you are less aware, you can accept a love that is intermittent, dramatic, and confusing because it matches an old belief. I have to work for love. When you are more aware, you start craving a love that is steady, transparent, and kind because you start believing, I can be loved without performing. That belief is threatening to any dynamic that depends on your performance. So the relationship tests you. It tests you with distance, with silence, with ambiguous communication, with a tiny punishment that dares you to chase. If you chase, the old pattern returns. If you stay steady, something new happens. The relationship has to reveal its true shape. This is why awareness can feel uncomfortable. It forces reality to speak. Now let me name a trap that many thoughtful people fall into. They try to be fair in a way that becomes self-erasure. They say, maybe I'm asking too much. They say, maybe I'm being intense. They say, maybe my standards are unrealistic. Sometimes that reflection is wise. Sometimes it is a leftover survival strategy, lowering your needs so you do not have to face rejection. Awareness is not harshness, it is accuracy. Accuracy says, my needs are real, your capacity is real. If those two things do not meet, the answer is not to erase myself. Here is another open loop we are going to close. Why does it hurt so much when someone goes cold right after you become more aware? Because it feels like punishment for growth. It feels like the world saying, stay small if you want love. And this touches an old wound in many people. Being loved for being easy, and neglected for being real. If you have felt that wound, it makes sense that you try to earn warmth again. It makes sense that you want to rescue the connection. It makes sense that you want to explain your heart until it makes sense to them. But you rarely can explain someone into emotional maturity. You can invite. You can communicate. You can set boundaries. You can model clarity. Yet their willingness is their choice. So the question becomes, what does your awareness ask of you now? It asks you to stop chasing what you can only receive. It asks you to be willing to lose a version of the relationship that only existed because you were abandoning yourself. It asks you to choose the pain that leads somewhere, instead of the pain that loops. And here is the paradox. When you stop chasing, you often become more attractive to healthy people and less useful to unhealthy dynamics. Healthy people tend to feel relief when you are clear. They feel safer when you say what you mean. They respect a boundary because it helps them know how to love you. Unhealthy dynamics tend to feel threatened because your clarity blocks access. That is why the same awareness can create deeper intimacy with one person and distance with another. Now let's move into what you can do in the moment you feel the chill. Start by slowing down your interpretation. The mind loves to turn distance into a story. I ruined it. They hate me. I'm too much. I'm not enough. Awareness invites a pause. Something shifted. Let me watch what happens. Then name the behavior, not the accusation. Instead of, you're punishing me, you can say, I noticed you got quieter after I brought that up. Are you okay to talk about it? This is clean. It gives space for honesty without surrendering your experience. Keep your boundary steady without making it a threat. A boundary is not a weapon. It is a description of what you will do to protect your life. If plans get canceled last minute repeatedly, I'm going to make my own plans and stop holding my schedule open. That is not punishment. It is self-respect. And regulate your body. This matters more than people admit. When someone goes cold, your nervous system can go into panic. You might feel the urge to text, call, explain, send a long message, perform emotional CPR on the relationship. If you can, take a walk, breathe slowly, put your hands on your chest, speak to yourself like you would speak to a friend. I'm safe. I can handle uncertainty. I can be loved without chasing. This is not just advice. It is training your system to stop confusing anxiety with love. And then, watch what happens when you stop fixing. The most revealing moment is when you do not rush to restore comfort. If they return with maturity, you are building something. If they escalate the coldness, increase the confusion, or disappear, you are learning something even more important. Now, I want to say something that can sound sharp, but I mean it with care. Someone who becomes colder when you become clearer is telling you what kind of relationship they want. They want one where you doubt yourself. They want one where you negotiate your needs. They want one where you carry the emotional load. Again, that does not require labeling them as evil. It simply means their preferred relationship structure does not match your evolving self-respect. And this is where a deeper, quieter question arrives. Do you want love that requires you to be less awake? Because sometimes the hardest part is not letting go of the person. It is letting go of the version of you who thought that was the best available. Awareness is an upgrade. Upgrades can feel lonely at first. When you stop tolerating confusing love, there can be a gap. A space where the old pattern dies and the new pattern has not arrived yet. That gap can feel like emptiness, but it is often a clearing. In that clearing, you become more honest with yourself. You start noticing who feels like peace and who feels like a project. You start noticing that butterflies can be anxiety-wearing perfume. You start noticing that you do not need to earn consistency. If you are in that gap right now, breathe. You are not behind. You are becoming accurate. Now, let's go deeper into what makes your awareness so disruptive. It changes your identity inside the relationship. Many people do not fall in love with a person, at least not fully. They fall in love with a role. The role can be the rescuer, the fixer, the loyal listener, the fun one, the one who forgives, the one who understands without being asked. Roles feel safe because they are predictable. If you keep playing your role, the other person can keep being who they are without reflection. Awareness makes you less available for role-based love. You become a person again, with needs, limits, and perceptions. You stop being a function. When someone has been relating to your role more than your reality, your return to yourself can feel like betrayal to them, not because you harmed them, but because you stopped being convenient. This is why their coldness can look irrational. They are not responding to what you said. They are responding to what your clarity implies. The old agreement is over. And the body does not like lost agreements. It prefers the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. If you have ever wondered why you feel an urge to run back and apologize for being honest, this is part of the reason. Your system learned that belonging required performance. When you stop performing, your system flares up as if you are in danger. In cases where there has been conditioning, meaning you were repeatedly rewarded for being easy and punished for having needs, your body may interpret their coldness as a signal to self-abandon. That is not weakness. That is old training. Awareness is retraining. Retraining is slow. It is awkward. It is 1,000 small moments where you stay honest instead of collapsing. So let's talk about the cold as a test, because many people experience it like a test. You say no, and suddenly they disappear for a day. You ask for clarity, and suddenly they become too busy. You name a boundary, and suddenly they say, "You are difficult." It can feel like the relationship is asking, "Will you go back to who you were?" When you take that test, do not answer with anger, and do not answer with desperation. Answer with consistency. Consistency sounds like, you keep being kind, you keep being clear, you keep your life moving, you do not punish them back, and you do not chase them into warmth. You hold the line of your self-respect the way you would hold a candle in a draft. Gently, but protected. Now a lot of people ask, should I call it out? And the honest answer is, it depends on the pattern. If this is a new relationship, sometimes the best move is to speak once, clearly, and then watch behavior. A single conversation can reveal a lot. Someone who is safe tends to lean in, even if they are clumsy. Someone who is unsafe tends to turn your clarity into a debate about your character. If this is a long-term relationship, your awareness may threaten old habits. That can be painful for both of you. In that case, growth can happen, but it asks for two people who are willing to build new agreements. So try a sentence that does not accuse and does not shrink. Something like, "I care about us. When I bring up something important to me and things get colder, I feel distance between us. I want to be able to talk without punishment. Are you willing to work on that with me?" That sentence is a doorway. Their response tells you whether you are building a home or a maze. Now let's address the part that is hard to admit. Sometimes we confuse discomfort with proof. We think, if they went cold, it means I was right. Or, if they went cold, it means I was too much. Awareness does not rush to conclusions. Awareness gathers data with a calm heart. So look for consistency, not a perfect day, not a romantic apology, not one sweet message that resets your hope. Look for consistency over time. Do they show up? Do they follow through? Do they take accountability? Do they respect your boundaries even when it costs them something? Love reveals itself in inconvenient moments. And here is a simple way to catch the pattern without turning yourself into a detective. Track what happens right after honesty. Right after you ask for clarity, do they become more vague? Right after you name a need, Do they become harder to reach? Right after you hold a boundary, do they suddenly treat you like you're the problem? Those right after moments are where the hidden contract shows itself. The coldness is not random. It has timing. Timing is information. It also helps to notice how the coldness behaves. Sometimes it is dramatic silence. Sometimes it is polite distance. Sometimes it is a sharp joke that lands like a slap. Sometimes it is a soft "I'm fine" that ends the conversation and leaves you carrying the tension alone. Sometimes it is turning you into the one who has to prove you're reasonable. If you find yourself rehearsing your words, editing your feelings, and trying to deliver your truth in the exact format that will not upset them, that is your body telling you the room is not emotionally safe for you yet. Safety is not the absence of conflict. Safety is the presence of repair. And if you want an even cleaner test, watch what happens when you stop overperforming. Do you still feel liked, or do you only feel tolerated? Do you still feel wanted, or do you only feel contacted when they need comfort, attention, or access? Do you feel met, or do you feel managed? Those are not accusations. They are measurements. This is also where many people get trapped by intensity. The person goes cold, then suddenly comes back warm, sometimes very warm. Big affection, big promises, big closeness. If that cycle repeats, pay attention. In cases where there is love bombing, meaning someone floods you with affection to create attachment and then withdraws to create craving, your awareness will notice the pattern. It is not the affection that is the red flag. It is the unpredictability that keeps your body addicted to the highs. If you sense that cycle, the antidote is not more analysis. The antidote is steadiness. Ask for consistency instead of intensity. Ask for plans instead of promises. Ask for actions you can observe. Now, some people hear all this and worry, what if I become too guarded? That is a real fear. Awareness can become armor if you confuse clarity with closedness. Clarity is open. It can feel warm. It can be tender. It simply refuses to be naive. So keep your heart open and keep your eyes open. Let the relationship show you what it is. Now, I want to take you into a simple inner practice, because awareness is not just about them. It is about you staying with yourself. When they go cold, ask yourself 2 questions. What part of me is activated right now? Sometimes it is the part that fears abandonment. Sometimes it is the part that believes love must be earned. Sometimes it is the part that equates silence with danger. And then, what would self-respect do right now if it trusted that I can survive a no? Self-respect might rest. It might wait. It might communicate once. It might step back. It might stop over-investing. This is how you stop letting someone else's mood run your life. And let's be honest, that is the real power of awareness. It makes your life less dependent on their temperature. Now another layer. Some people go cold when you become aware because they fear being seen. Being seen is intimate. Being seen means your excuses do not work. Being seen means your contradictions get noticed. Being seen means your charm has to turn into character. If someone was relying on being vaguely good, being vaguely loving, being vaguely committed, your awareness asks them to be specific. Specific requires courage, so they retreat into coldness, where they feel in control again. This is why a certain kind of person is attracted to someone who is deeply empathic, but not yet boundaried. Empathy without boundaries is easy to use. It can be shaped. It can be guilted. It can be pulled. When you add awareness and boundaries, your empathy becomes powerful, because it is no longer available for exploitation. Again, this is not paranoia. It is maturity. Now, what if you realize your awareness is revealing a mismatch? Then your next step is not to punish them or prove them wrong. Your next step is to honor what you see. Honor might look like reducing investment. It might look like stopping the chase. It might look like asking for a direct conversation. It might look like leaving, not as revenge but as alignment. And if you do leave, here is what helps. Do not leave while begging them to understand. Leave while understanding yourself. You can say, I want a relationship where we can talk, repair, and grow. I'm not experiencing that here. I'm stepping back. That is clear. That is kind. That is final without being cruel. Now, I also want to speak to the person who stays, because sometimes the relationship is worth rebuilding. If both of you are willing, awareness can become a bridge. You can create new agreements, how you handle conflict, how you communicate needs, how you make plans, how you repair after tension. You can learn to tolerate the discomfort of honesty without turning it into coldness. That is growth. And growth is often uncomfortable at the start, not because love is failing, but because old patterns are dying. So if the person you care about goes cold after you become more aware, do not rush to label it. Let it speak. Let it speak through behavior over time. Let it speak through whether they become curious or defensive. Let it speak through whether they respect your boundaries or test them. Let it speak through whether they can hold you being real. Now, I want to leave you with something simple and grounding. Your awareness is not an attitude. It is a return. A return to your perception. A return to your dignity. A return to the part of you that knows the difference between love and confusion. So if someone's coldness arrives right after your clarity, treat it as information, not as a verdict. You can say, internally, I'm allowed to see, I'm allowed to ask, I'm allowed to need, I'm allowed to be respected. And then you let reality respond. Because a relationship that can hold your awareness is a relationship that can hold your growth. And a relationship that needs your blindness is not asking for love, it is asking for control, comfort, or avoidance. If you keep choosing clarity, the right connections tend to meet you there. They feel challenged and safer at the same time. They do not need you to shrink to stay close. And if someone cannot meet you there, your awareness did not ruin anything. It revealed the shape of what was already there. That is the strange mercy of waking up. It ends the guessing. It gives you your life back.